Good evening, friends. It's an absolute pleasure that I've been asked to host tonight's video. Chris has taken a laid-back approach. I'll be probing Chris and Jimmy lots and lots of questions tonight about guides, inspirers, and helpers. What a fantastic opportunity again we've all been given to host another talk, discussion, interview, if you will. I'd like to introduce my good friend Chris from the Purple Mountain, who's joined hosting and sharing some of his knowledge and guidance that he's assimilated over the past couple of years. And our good brother Jimmy, welcome to another one of our videos and talks tonight. Thank you very much for both of you to be with us tonight. I know it's going to be a fantastic night. I'd like to mention to everybody as well, tonight is a great opportunity to ask us any questions that you've got about guides, inspirers and helpers. And it is hoped that we're able to answer some of those questions with good humor, with a bit of knowledge and inspiration. But I also like to mention as well, like to welcome those not just from Facebook, but also from YouTube as well. And anybody that's interested in being part of listening to some of our videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. That'd be fantastic. And that's just supporting our spiritual work and sharing the knowledge that we've gained over the past 30, 40 years. And I'd like to pass on first to Chris, which I assume that Chris is going to do a writing for us, an inspirational poem. And I'm going to hand over to Chris. Thank you.
You assumed correctly. Thank you very much for that introduction, and good evening, everyone. Hope you're all well, and for those that are able to, I hope you enjoyed the lovely weather that we've had today as well. The sun is shining. It's another good day. So tonight we're talking about guides, and this is an inspirational writing from 2015. And it's about your one true guide, which I'm sure that phrase will be used a couple of times tonight, if not more. Believe in me as I believe in you. Take the steps with me you know to be true. For you know me as I know you. I am there by your side. You know this to be true. In this journey we may disagree in time, but it's all for a reason as you make your climb. I am your friend and I see your true love inside. I see your scars, your true self you cannot hide. I see your knowledge, your wisdom within, and I help you make your plans for this journey to begin. Never forget me, as I'll never leave your side. No matter how far you stray or what path you walk, I will be there whenever you need to talk. It is my honor to walk this path with you. As I see your lessons, I learn my own. This circle continues until you return home. So no matter how hard each step is to take, never lose heart as you make your climb. It's all for a reason, you will see in good time. You need only call my name and I will be by your side. For I am your friend, your one true guide.
Wow, what a beautiful inspirational poem there about your one true guide. And we're going to start off, Chris and Jimmy. I'm going to ask the very simple question. We mentioned in our discussion earlier on, haven't we, between us, that it's about your one true guide, helpers and inspirers. So I think what's really, really important is if we sort of start with you, Chris and Jimmy, what is a guide, your one true guide? So do you want to start us off, Chris, and then pass on to Jimmy?
Yeah, I would say very simply, you have, we talk about guides, inspirers, in which in many ways there are many, but when we talk about your one true guide, which was that writing that I've just shared with you, which your one true guide is basically your guide that is elected to walk with you in this life, this incarnation, and that soul, spirit will be with you from the minute you return to the earth plane, from the moment you return home to the spirit world, and they will never change. That is what we'll refer to as your one true guide. And I'm sure, like I said, we'll be using that. It's just when we use the word guide, or some people might say guardian angel, and this, and really, in many ways, it doesn't matter. But the reason we use these terms is it's to give that simplicity of understanding. By using these terms, we're able to separate and understand them on a physical level. We're able to simplify it. So your one true guide is somebody who'll be very, very close with you in the spirit world, possibly part of your soul group. I'm sure we'll get into a discussion later on of who it might not be around you, but this person will be very, very close with you. It'll be somebody that will be strong enough to be able to walk this path with you and come close to you even when times are hard. And they have total unconditional love for us no matter what. We can be very hard on ourselves on this earth plane. We can judge ourselves, especially when we get things wrong, but our guide will never do that. They are not there. They will never judge us. They might just show us the way or send a gentle sign. They'll be there with love, with healing when we need it, perhaps when we just need to be held, when we're, feeling that way. But they will always be there for us, and they see the greatness in you. They see your true being, your true light. They don't see when you might lose your temper or get a bit mad. Of course, they see it, but they see your true potential. So everything else is a lesson, it's an experience, and they will have a greater understanding of where it's leading. We've talked before about our spirit, our true self. If you take this journey like a river, your true self always knows where the river leads to. But our physical, our mind, will only take you to the next bend in the river. So very much the same with our guides. They know where the river will lead to, possibly. So they'll help us. Nothing's set in stone, as we talked before. But what's most important, if I could pass one message along today about your one true guide, is they have total unconditional love. And something I've been picking up very strong, I did during a recent experience, and I was talking with Stephen about it today, is if we really knew and could accept within our hearts how much we are unconditionally loved by spirit, I feel we wouldn't carry or feel the need to carry a lot of things we do that really be so hard on ourselves. And that's where that's where I want to start with that.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Chris. And just going a little bit deeper here, Jimmy, is what's your thoughts on a lot of people have said in the past, which a lot of people don't understand the concept of your one true guide. And I think in simple terms, what do you think are the purpose? What is the purpose of having a one true guide? And does everybody have a one true guide?
Thank you. That was beautifully put, by the way, Chris. I really enjoyed that. Does everybody have a one true guide? Everybody who walks this earth plane will have a guide, a one true guide. We have many, many helpers and inspirers as we walk this earth plane, this earthly journey. For instance, if I wanted to learn to play the violin, the chances are somebody would step forward from spirit world who is very much their passion would be music, so they would feel that to come close, and they would inspire you to help you with that violin. But your one true guide is somebody you've known possibly many, many, many thousands of years, or at least many hundreds of years. When I got into the spiritual movement and I learned about guides, and it's still the greatest thing that ever happened to me spiritually was when I found out the name of my guide. That's what I was trying to say. When I found out who my guide was, his name, so that when I meditate, I could call his name, and he would come close, and I could feel his closeness. I could feel his love. Chris mentioned unconditional love, and it's my understanding that your guide probably loves you more than anybody in the spirit world, and I bring soul partners into that. They would love you equally, because it's that love that it has for you that is one of the reasons why he takes on this task, this awesome task of walking with you, always a thought or a whisper away, always by your side when you need him. And I'm talking away and I can't even remember what you asked me, but I just have this great passion for my guide, and it'd be wonderful if everybody could know who their guide was, or just knowing you've got one true guide, somebody, like I say, a thought or a whisper away, always there. Nobody's ever alone. Nobody in this world is ever alone. And I would say to all of you, if you don't meditate, please try, but at least call for your guide, ask for your guide, and he will be there. He's like I say, a thought or a whisper away. And actually, I can't remember what you asked me, but I just wanted to
no. I think you've answered that question, Jimmy. It's fabulous, and I think you mentioned a very important word there, which we've accepted over the years, haven't we? Probably Chris can agree. We all have this deep knowing that we all have that one true guide, and it has been very controversial in the spiritual movement. There's been a lot of heavy discussions on, is it important to know who your one true guide is? What's your thoughts on that, Jimmy?
Well, your guide is your best friend. People say, why do you need to know your guide's name? Well, surely you wouldn't want to know who your best friend's name was. Somebody who loves you unconditionally, surely it would be beneficial to you and to him as well, or her, that you know the name so that you could call on them. I think people that maybe bring that, I understand what you're saying about that. People who may bring that that thought through possibly don't really understand how special and unique your own one true guide is. If they could accept that you do have one true guide who walks with you, like's been said, from the day you arrive to the day you go back home, and beyond, because this is a friend that it just loves you unconditionally. So to me, it's respect. It's a deep respect, a deep love for that person. And I am so privileged to know who my guide is. I'm so privileged. I can't tell you. And
I mean, what Jimmy? I just want to mention. So, in your experience now, I don't want to make you sound old, of course, but out of all your many years of spiritual knowledge, experience, sitting in the circle, has it been beneficial for you? Do you feel, sort of, if you reflect back now, of the importance of knowing your guide? Have you felt him in times of strife? Have you experienced that? Have you felt the benefits of that knowing?
Absolutely. It's a great question. We all have our down moments. We all have our great moments, and your guide is the one that will, when you're happy, he laughs with you. When you're down, he cries with you. He shares your tears, and knowing that I have this person who loves me unconditionally, knows me better than I know myself. It's just someone you can turn to. Someone, you might not be able to see them, but I know he's there. I know he's there now. He's the one that's inspiring me as I'm talking now. And he's smiling. I can pick him up smiling now, and it's so special to know it. And I would say to the people who are watching tonight, you've all got one true guide, and I would say meditate, try and pick up who they are, try and get that feeling, because it's something to answer your question, I felt the closeness when I've had my down moments. I've meditated and asked him to come close, and he's come close, and I know he's there, and it's just, and then there'll be a few words of wisdom to set me back on my pathway, set me back where I was, and it's just fabulous.
I think what's important to mention there as well, like you just said, Jimmy, and I'll be asking Chris what his thoughts on that was, that, you know, the guide, your one true guide's not just there in trouble and strife when you're down and when you need that assistance. They are also there in the good times, or the times when you need that intuition, you need that inspiration, you need that help. You've got decisions to be made in your life. So sort of, what's your thoughts on that, Chris? What's your sort of thoughts on your connection with your spirit guide?
Well, yeah, I'm just making notes really, and I totally go along with everything Jimmy said. You know, whether you have the opportunity to meditate and connect with your guide, but what also comes to me is, you know, that saying which slightly relates to what we're talking about. I feel that is, you know, when the pupil is ready, the master will appear, or something like that. And the reason I use that is not to say your guide's the master, but to say, if I look back on my journey, I became aware of my guide more than ever at the point when I was on the verge of a spiritual transformation. So I was ready to learn. I was ready to start stepping into who I was really. So I feel that's very important. And also, what I would say with people, I mean, we've been very privileged because we were in a circle, a very long running circle with a trance medium. And it is wonderful if you're able to sit in a circle, grab the opportunity with both hands, or
absolutely.
create one yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need much. All you need is a little space with a nice table, and off you go. So do it. But we've been quite privileged that way. But I've met a lot of people along the journey who will give themselves a hard time as well. Oh my God, I don't know my guide's name. Oh my God. It's like the opposite of not caring. They care, but they're trying too hard. And what I want to say to everybody, where I'm going with this is, you might not pick up your guide's name. Of course, if we could all know your guide's name, I feel a lot of people would grab that opportunity with both hands. Of course they would. And if you get a name in a meditation, trust it with all your heart. You know, trust your feelings. But also as well, watch for the other signs that your guide might give you. You might see your guide. I've known people that will see the guides as plain as day. And wow, what a wonderful connection that is. There might be a certain scent or smell that your guide puts around you. There might be a certain feeling. Your arm might go a little bit cold or warm, and just recognize, why is that happening all the time? That might be my guide. And the reason I'm saying all this is, so hopefully everybody that's watching, you're starting to backtrack already, going, I've had that experience. So don't be too hard on yourself with everything. Go with the flow of the river, because when you're ready, that connection will grow stronger. And it is an important connection, not just in the bad times, but also I've experienced, we talk a lot about medicine work and ceremonies. And when I've had moments of euphoria and really a bliss, that I feel I've had a big spiritual breakthrough, and my guide's been there 100% celebrating, dancing with me and saying, this is a wonderful time. I always knew you could make it here. You know, and they have total confidence in us that sometimes we don't see in ourselves. So that's
Absolutely.
a couple of points I wanted to make. And, you know, there is a lot of controversy over guides and why do you need to know them? But I'm going to be quite frank with this. I think sometimes a little bit of that might come down to ego. And even with the people that are saying that, their true guide knows the truth. They see the real love that's inside that person, and that they don't really truly mean that. They might be just throwing it around, or everybody's been on a different journey. And sometimes we could say things of the mind, not of the spirit. And I would say those are more thoughts of the mind than the spirit.
Yeah.
And what I would say to that is, with anybody listening, don't feel that's a detriment, because that person's guide will know their true spirit and the love that's within them.
Absolutely. And I love the fact
yeah.
that you were saying there, Chris, about connecting, and we'll probably talk about that a little bit more later on, about making that connection with your one true guide. And I think there's such an emphasis, isn't there, Jimmy and Chris, of seeking mediums, trance mediums, psychic artists for that guidance, for that inspiration, and actually spirit, and now trying to guide everybody to look within, meditate, and ask. I feel that people don't ask enough, and you're not asking because you're not begging for spirit to give you to give you those spirit signs, but spirit all around us. Spirit don't just come to us when we're with mediums, or when we see a tarot reader or an angel card reader or a trance medium. Spirit around us every day, even now at home. In our home, spirit are with us, and
could I just add something?
Yeah, all you have to do. Sometimes there's that wall that stops us connecting with spirit. So you got to look at that wall. What divides you? And because spirit are there, you just have to ask, and your guides will leave you spirit signs. I know that because that's happened with me. So what are you going to say, that Chris?
Oh yeah, that was it. Just remember, had a brain fog then. It's just what you were saying. That's really important. It's go with the flow of the river, like so many things. But do you know what's wonderful? Say, for example, if you do all this work and you meditate and you look after yourself and you be in your true self, your true spirit, and just when you casually walk in your path, or you might just go with a friend to a church or a centre or somewhere, and there might be a psychic artist on or somebody, and imagine the proof of, say, if you've seen your guide a little bit to that point, but you're not too sure, and somebody draws you a picture that matches what you've seen.
Wow.
Now that can happen a lot, like little confirmations, or you get the message and you've done half the work, so you know you're part of it. That could be wonderful.
Yeah, so let's backtrack a little bit, and I'm going to ask Jimmy and Chris the same question. So we talk about your guide being with you since birth, but actually your guide's with you. So we've done talks, haven't we, in the past about reincarnation. So when we make plans, part of that plan will be speaking to your one true guide or your best friend in the spirit. So how does that process work? About making that plan, making that reincarnation. So what's your thoughts on that, Jimmy?
Well, yeah, we spend much time, lots and lots and lots of time. You're picking your parents, you're picking your environment, talking with your guide. Where your guide comes in, you'll be discussing with your guide a lot what you feel between you. What he knows you as much as you know yourself, and you will be discussing a lot what you need to learn on this incarnation. We know the tolerance and patience and all that, but there might be other things that you need to learn. I quickly throw it in. On my last incarnation, I was very, very outgoing, very, very outgoing. Made a mess of it. Why women in song? I don't mind admitting. But this time round, what we discussed, and we give it a lot of thought, was how could I stop myself being so extrovert? And what we decided was to reincarnate into a family where there was possibility that I would be hard of hearing, which would make me more introvert. And that's exactly what happened, and that's exactly what I've done. So that would have been discussed so much with my guide. Can I handle it? You know, do you think you can handle it? And et cetera, et cetera. I've got total belief in you. You know, he would be the one that's encouraging me or discouraging me, you know, to do a certain thing. So he's one of the biggest parts of the equation, because at the end of the day, he's the person that's going to be walking with you on this incarnation. So he wants to get it right for you, you know, to make sure you've got the best chance possible of making a success of this incarnation.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, so talk about from the beginning there. I think what would be interesting to your question there, Chris, is so you made the end of your transition of your life, so that you lived a good, healthy life, and you died in your late 80s, early 90s, and you made the transition home back to the spirit world. What's the role of your guide during that time? How would that work?
It's an interesting question, that, yeah. And I have to be honest, it's not something I've pondered on a lot. But my feelings on it would be that they will help you readjust. And what I mean by readjustment, that everything takes time, depending how you've passed to the spirit world and such. There is a period of readjustment, very emotional, with family, friends, maybe things to patch up. People in the spirit world that you want a little one-to-one discussion with and iron out a few differences. And I feel your guide will be with you through that entire process, because to me, remember, this is a great friend, soul connection as well. So they're not going to, I don't feel they just clock out. They're around you, they're there. I think they're the part of the soul grouping that you're in. So I think perhaps once, the only way I could put it is, I feel maybe once they've fulfilled their role, that they will then sort of depart, maybe to do some other work or work that they need to do. That's the only way I could put it. What's your thoughts, Stephen? Because it's a good question.
Yeah, it is, and I think that maybe, and I'll ask Jimmy his thoughts on it as well. And I sort of feel, I mean, we've all heard the expression, haven't we? When you die, when the physical dies, your spirit doesn't die. I call it life after life. It's just the body dies, your soul moves on, and your life will flash by you. They say, don't the spirit have said to us that every thought, every action, good or bad, you remember. And I sort of assume that, sort of feel that once you've adjusted yourself, that your guide will be there and you will go through all your experiences, the times, the good times, and the guide was saying, how well do you think you did there? And almost in that sense, you're already discussing what you might be doing in your next reincarnation. And your guide will be there, and it was like sitting over tea and having a cup of tea and discussing, and because you remember your guide is there by your side, and we'll probably talk about this later on. They're not going to be there 24 hours, 7 days a week. They are there by thought. You just have to think about them, that they will be there if you need them, because they've got a little bit of their own work to do. So what's your thoughts, Jimmy, on that? When you die, when the physical body dies and you connect with your spirit guide, how do you think that works?
Pretty much what's been discussed, but your guide's going to be there, and his work comes into its own again. He's looked after you for the 80, 90 years on the airplane, if you're lucky. But there's still a lot of work to do when you go home. So much work to do, like a debrief, if you like Chris was saying. And, I mean, if it's, assuming you've gone home and you've adjusted quite well, but there's people that don't adjust quite well. So it could take them, no time in spirit, obviously, but it could be 50, 100 years for some people before they come to terms with everything. So their guide's going to carry on. But hopefully, if you've adjusted okay, then he, like you say, he's got his own work to do, but he's always that thought or a whisper away, because he's been your friend for so long. Who do you call on when you need them? And it's your friend. And it's basically what's been said, but the work doesn't stop. You might, for instance, you might have an idea that you want to do something while you're in the spirit world, some work that you want to do. Who are you going to turn to? You've got inspirers and that, but who's the main man or the main lady? It's your guide.
Yeah.
It's just You're just like that.
Yeah. I think what would be great at this point, Chris, is to go to you, and I want to ask you a little bit about your experience about when you first found out about your spirit guide, and how that process worked, and what was your thoughts and feelings on it, and a little bit about your connection with your one true guide.
Well, I'm a bit spoiled in a way because I came into this work being invited into a home circle, which I completely promote 100% when obviously when that's you're able to do it. I don't want to get myself in trouble with Boris tonight. But anyway, so I was in a home circle with Roy and Anita Williams, who we mentioned Anita and Roy quite a few times. And Anita was a trance medium. And during a trance sitting, we were all given our guide's name. And my guide is, she's actually female, or shows herself as a female, because Indian, when she last walked, and I've walked to life on India also, and I feel that's where we got our connection from. And sometimes, it's interesting this, because your connection with your guide in past lives, it might not be so rosy either. It might have been a bit tough. You might have been enemies at one time. You might have not got on so well. You might have a bit of a story. But sometimes if you look in your life, when you first meet people that are a real big part of your life, it's not always smooth. So it's all part of experience, and through experience and forgiveness, we forge something stronger. So that was the story with my guide, very basically. Yeah, that was that story. So as I move forward to Anita, and we had a Native American spirit used to come through called Watonka, and he gave all our guides names to us, as I remember, including Stevens, and I think there was somebody else there that night. But it's interesting. I'll tell you something very interesting. I've not always seen my guide. Very rarely. I could probably count on one hand. But when I do, it's always been very relevant. I've had a lot of messages that confirm that often she'll come and dance and bring calmness and love. I have felt an energy around me, and also a lot of calmness that she brings to me as well. I've asked, having that knowledge of her name, which she called Lao Me, has often given me that confidence, if you want to call it that, on the early stages when I wasn't as in tune, maybe, to ask for a name, and it really helped me early on. And your guide's always there through everything. I've worked as in clairvoyance, transmediumship, in many other, and they're always there. Even with inspirers, which I'm sure we'll get to in a moment, that they're always there in the background, sort of okay and everything. And is everything going to be all right? It's not going to be too much for him. Or on the other side, they'll give you that push when you need it. Might just push you where you need it, gentle push. But I would say, coming back to what I think you were asking, is it gave me an extra bit of confidence, I think, on my spiritual journey early on, that I knew something had been given to me which felt right, and because it felt right, I was able to acknowledge that connection, and also ask my guide. And also when you get bits of evidence along the way, and I have had people pass messages on to me, and who are aware of my guide as well, in the spirit world. So yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Chris, and very interesting. Yeah, very interesting. I remember me and Chris joined the circle at the same time, and when we were told about our guides, I felt so I felt so special. I thought, we're the only ones who got a spirit guide. This is fantastic. I can't wait. And I remember that feeling very, very vivid. So, what about your journey with your spirit guide? When were you told about your spirit guide, or were you aware of your spirit guide? And a little bit about the story. Did you sort of understand your relationship with your spirit guide, Jimmy?
Yeah, very much similar to Chris. I joined a home circle, the same circle. Got to be 40 years ago, maybe more, and I was very, very lucky because my guy come through the transmedium and had a chat, and I didn't really take it serious as I should, because he was Chase Chinese, my guide, and he was very sing song. His voice was very sing song, and that's the first I knew about guides. So when I found out about more about guides, I could have kicked myself, because I was actually speaking to him. How privileged! You know. And my guide's Chinese, and he's called Chang Wan, and I'm very lucky because I know his partner, who's Su Ling. The story I was told about my guide, I walked the earth plane with him in China about 600 years ago, and we both worked in like a food store. It's more like a warehouse, and I was sort of management. I had a clipboard and all that, and he was basically a labourer. And what I did, I taught him to read and write. Just in our spare time, I taught him to read and write, which was massive for that era. For want of a better word, and forgive me, but for peasants to learn to read and write in China at that time was massive. And but what that did, it enabled him to teach his sons to read and write, and his daughters, I'm sure, which then passed on to the grandchildren. And that legacy has passed on to this day, where his family have remained quite affluent, but for the right reasons. So it was his gratitude for that simple thing. I mean, so simple. It was just easy, and that made us. We sort of became firm friends. When we passed the spirit, we became even more friends. And he was a very, very enlightened spirit, and we just grew on each other. Our friendship grew, and all stemmed from that simple thing. And we've just remained so close, and basically all stemmed from that. I can't say how privileged. I keep saying it, but to know my guide, to speak to my guide, although I never took advantage of it at the time, never asked him a question or anything. But I do. At that time when I was meditating, I did see him a lot, and we used to go into a garden, like a Chinese garden. He used to put his hand on my shoulder, and we used to just disappear into the distance. And what I was very aware of was his humour, and I'm still aware of that. He's got this wonderful self-depreciating humour, which I love. I don't see him as much now, but I think that's mainly because it's not necessary. You know, it's just not necessary. I know he's there. I feel him. So why waste energy? You know, that's it really.
Yeah, wonderful. I mean, I'll ask Chris one more question, then we can.
What's just before we move on? Sorry, Stephen, but what's you haven't passed your story on? Your guide.
Yeah, my story is also my one true guide is called what's that? What's that called Chi Chang Li. His name's Chi Chang Li. And I was privileged again of being given that name many years ago, and I always got this feeling, sort of, I have this knowing that he's there, and I don't know if it's my ego that stops me seeing him, because you think, am I really seeing him? It's almost like when you're working with spirit, and you know, you quite easily can give messages to other people. But then when you want to connect with things with yourself, you doubt yourself, don't you? I don't know if you two have ever
That's a very good point. Very good point you brought up there.
You doubt yourself, really. So it's a big lesson there. But I remember, I don't know if you remember this, Chris, when we were in Circle, and Anita, who was the trance medium, we did some tarot card readings, and she described my spirit guide to me, and he was holding this big conjuring of energy, or this big ball of energy, and he was trying to instill in me this was I think when I was 26 or 27, so over 10 years ago, and he was telling me
a while ago then.
Yeah, a while ago. He was telling me about my discipline. So it was almost like he wasn't telling me off, but you see, a lot of people got romanticize your spirit guide as well.
Yes.
I think, and my spirit guide saying you need to discipline yourself a little bit more, Stephen. Your mind's wandering, and it was and how true was it with all the work that we've done now the past 10 years with the Purple Mountain and all the work on myself. So and I do feel I remember I did feel him once. And it was when my cat died, Freddie, and I was at the vet's, and we just had to put him to sleep, and I was devastated, absolutely devastated. And I put my hand on top of the counter, and I felt this warm hand. It was so physical, hold me at the side like that. And I remember asking Spirit a couple of months later, and Spirit said it was your one guide saying, "You're going to be all right. Don't worry. Don't worry, you'll be all right." So I remember that. And once I made that connection, months and a couple of years later, I felt him always on my left side as if he's holding. And I like what Jimmy says, with all the changing work, I know that he's there, but it's not always necessary for me to see him and recognize him, because I know my love's there for him. But my question, before we do some questions and answers with people online tonight, is, which is also quite controversial. I want to ask Jimmy and you, Chris, the same question. Can your spirit guide interfere in your life? Can they tell you what you should and shouldn't do?
I'll let Jimmy go first for this one.
Okay. No, there's no. You're here on this journey, this earthly journey, to progress, spiritually progress, and to do that, you need to experience as much as you can. Good experience, bad experience, you learn from them all. So if you had somebody behind you who was stopping you, if you like, from experiencing it, he may come close, and you may feel that this isn't right for you. This isn't a path you should be going down. That's completely different. But they don't say don't go down that path. They might. They're there to guide. They're there to guide you. So they may. I can't think of the right words. It's not so much advice. It's just a feeling that you know it's not right for you, and that part of that will come from your guide. But they're not gonna. If you go down that road, they're not gonna go, "Oh my goodness me, what's he done again?" They're just gonna have their hand on your shoulder, and we'll make the best of this, and then learn from that. And it's a difficult question, that, because it's a fine line between telling you what to do and just that gentle advice that you feel. You just feel it's not right. It's not right, that.
You know what used to come to me, Jimmy? What came to me, something that I read a very long time ago, that your guide is not somebody that walks behind you. Your guide's not walking in front of you. He walks by your side. So he's not leading you. He's not taking you anywhere. He is walking with you. So wherever you walk, he will with you. But there's also universal law. We could do a talk on that alone. So that interference, because like you said, that experience, if your guide's interfering, he can change the plan, and your guide would never do that. And this is why me and Chris particularly have learned this over the past 12 months with our medicine work, that there isn't a bad or good path. It's just the path of life. So your guide will see things in the bigger picture. So when you think, oh no, and how many of us have reflected back and say, oh, I'm glad I went through that, even though it was tough, I've made it, I'm okay. So your guide will be there rooting you. Come on, you'll be fine. There'll be light at the end of the tunnel. So what's your thoughts, Chris? Can your guide interfere?
Well, a little bit. I refer a little bit about what I said earlier about the river. So your true being knows exactly. I don't mean this in a physical sense, but it's aware of you are aware within your true spirit of your purpose and why lessons are brought to you and why you might get angry or frustrated or why things trigger you, why things are being brought to you. Our mind tries to figure it out. And it's very much, I think, with our guides, because we tend to think sometimes in this world of, oh, if I've got a decision to make, should I go left or should I go right? And the way I would put it is, a big role of your guide, I feel, your one true guide, is to help you be within your true self. And when you're within your true self, whatever your decision you make will be the right one. No matter where it leads, it will be the right one for you. And I feel that's why they come in very, very strong. So they might not come in and go, I don't feel they can interfere. They might not say go left or right, but take it out of that physical context for a minute. They'll come forward and encourage, just be you. Whatever you do, just be you. Follow your heart. Like a good friend would. And many of my friends wouldn't give me the answer to things. They just say, well, what do you want to do?
Absolutely.
When sometimes you're not telling anybody, but you're encouraging them to make the right decision for themselves.
Yeah.
That's the way I'd see it.
You want your guide to be truthful. And
that's why you made a good point earlier. It's not rosy. Sometimes you might get chucked in the deep end and they'll look at you and say, I'm sorry, I'm not pulling you out of that water just yet. You wanted to learn it. This is where sometimes in life, I feel, I don't know how to put this, but I'll just put it the best way I can and respectful as I can, is that sometimes when we try and care and guide others in life, it can turn into smothering and interfering in the journey and rescuing, which doesn't mean you're a bad person if anybody's done that, because we've all done it. All three of us have done that as well. It means you care, and sometimes we can overstep our boundaries maybe because we want that person to be happy, so we try and help them. But Jimmy made a good point earlier. Say if Stephen said to me, right, I'm going to walk through this door, Chris, I'm going to walk through that door. Now, I know full well that door is going to be, I don't think it's right for him. I don't think he's going to be happy. But it isn't my role to tell him what to do, because that's his journey and something is behind that door that he feels he's got to learn one way or the other.
And that could be hard, can't it? Even for your guy.
And it's tough because out of love, you want everybody to be happy. Most caring, compassionate people do. But really, if anybody's listening, and I try and walk this, I don't always get it right, still learning all the time. But any friends or family or anything that, the greatest inspiration, love and care you can give to them is inspiring them to be the true self. Because once you start getting to that true self and you're aligned with your true spirit, who you really are, not all this physical stuff around us, because that's just one experience of many. We've got to pay attention because we're living this experience. Tying myself in knots now, but finding who they truly are, and I'll lay myself on the line here. 100%. When you know who you truly are, when you're in your truth, things will become effortless. Challenges won't faze you as much, because you'll recognize them and identify them and navigate your way around them. and understand them better. And that's the best way you can see when you're aligned. I hope I haven't gone too far around the houses.
You're very inspirational there with your talk. And I think what would be great now, just want to mention to everybody that's listening, this is an interactive talk. So if anybody's got questions, we're going to start answering some questions. So I think if you want to click on to Nicole Bonnet's question, because she says there, do you want to put that up there so Jimmy can have
I've got it further up. I've got it here. This is a good question, actually.
So Jimmy, do you want to answer this question first?
Oh.
That's a great question.
So just keep that question up there, Chris, for a bit.
Do you know if we have the same one true guide for more than one lifetime, or are they always different? I would suggest that possibly it could be different, but I feel that my one true guide is going to be the one that is going to walk with me. But there might come a time when he might want to reincarnate back to the earth plane. What happens then? And supposing I want to reincarnate back to the earth plane, maybe it'll be I don't want to reincarnate back without my one true guide in attendance. So I might wait until he comes back to the spirit world and adjusts. Maybe that bond between my one true guide is so great that I don't want to walk the earth plane with anybody else but him. But having said that, I cannot see why, in some circumstances, that there could be somebody else walks with you. But my feeling is no. I don't think I would want that personally.
Yeah, I think it all depends as well. I think that we've not really discussed about helpers and inspirers, but I know that, you know, we say that you one true guides with you from birth to death in this incarnation. But we know that, you know, that your guide's going to be with you, you know, they can be with you in another lifetime after that, and guide you and be our true one guide there. But they will only guide you as far as they can take you, because they are an individual spirit as well, and they will only be able to guide you with the knowledge and experience they've gained. And so in a way, when in a way, it's almost like and this sounds really awful by saying this, but it's almost like we've not outgrown in a sense. We've gained what we have with that guide, and then that guide will then move on. So what's your thoughts, Chris?
Well, I agree with everything that's been said. You know, we like to look at different angles, and this is a discussion, so it's giving as much truth out there as possible. But I think that word progression has to come into it, possibly, as you advance or change. As with inspirers, that it's vibrations. Somebody, you know, of a different vibration could come forward. Possibly what you come back to in this life might be specific to that. Yeah, it's quite an open question, really. I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't. There's nothing I've ever heard or been told that would say that you couldn't have the same guide for a couple of lifetimes. But I would say it wouldn't be continuous. I would possibly think it comes down to a little bit of progression as well. Yeah. It's an interesting question. What do you think, Stephen?
Yeah, it's not a question that I've ever really thought of, actually, because a lot of people that I know sort of love knowing about their past lives, and for me, I'm just want to concentrate on the here and the now, if you will, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. Those that want to know, who knows? I think in the spirit realms, anything's possible. You can't say no, you can't say yes. It can't be possible. But just concentrate on this incarnation, this guy now.
I think it falls this under the category of a little bit beyond comprehension. that there are some things that even we struggle to comprehend that are infinite, and this may fall under it a little bit. But I wanted to ask, can I ask you a question, Stephen?
Of course you can.
I know you're hosting this evening, but you're here to work as well, aren't you? We've talked a lot about your one true guide, but when we use the word inspirers, now for just everybody that's joining us this evening, what is the definitive difference between your one true guide and an inspirer?
Well, when I'm going to explain this, I really don't mean this disrespectfully to all my inspirers and guides and helpers in the spirit realms, or to those that are listening. I'm just trying to logically, here I'm using my head, I'm trying to logically comprehend and explain the answer to your question there, Chris. But your inspirers will come and go, helpers will come and go, your one true guide will be with you through life. Now, in there's lots of different, there could be thousands of examples that we can all give where we require, or there is a need where we need some inspiration in our lives. You know, there's nobody on this earth that doesn't stumble, that doesn't fall, that doesn't need that helping hand. Now, what kind of inspiration that you need, or what kind of inspirer, depends on the nature of your work. You might have decided to live a more physical life. So in my opinion, you might not require as much or as many guides and inspirers. Not that because you're spiritual means that you're going to have thousands of people there. Well, no, it just depends on the nature of the work. I know that in this life, I've chosen specifically to do my spiritual work because I know in my last life, I didn't quite succeed. I failed. I was lazy. That's why I'm so determined in this life to get these things right. And I can openly say that because I have that feeling. I have such a feeling in my heart that I know that I've got something to do in this life and no one's going to stop me. I'm not going to sit there and eat cake and biscuits, or maybe in my past life, maybe I've done that. I don't know. So really in this life, in the nature of my work, I constantly need a bit of inspiration. And what's funny as well, I might turn this round a little bit, Chris. I think inspirers in the spirit realms bring people in the physical to you to inspire you in the physical as well. Yeah. You know, like that end up being your friends, that end up being in your life only for a few short times. I know I quite openly talk about this. I know that when we made connections with Lewis, I knew that Lewis was brought into our lives to inspire us in the next chapter of our work. I know that. So
in the physical, there can be.
Talk about the physical.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
in the physical, and but then in the spirit realms, there would be inspirers. I mean, I'll give you an example. When I started to change my work, I'm a few years back, I wanted to get into animal healing work, and I was humming and hawing, and there would have been inspirers that would be saying, "Come on, Steve," and I envisage inspirers being like planting seeds, and they're dropping little seeds in your mind, because remember, inspirers can't interfere either. And they will drop little seeds, or they will leave spirit signs, and you think, oh, maybe that's what I need to do. Oh, thank you, spirit. Thank you, spirit. Thanks for leaving that spirit sign. And something just opens in your mind, in your heart, and you're like, wow, that's what I'm going to do. And sometimes you will meet your inspirers when you're on the astral plane. And how many times have we woken up and you think, oh, I feel really happy today. I've got work to do. And you've got this real buzz inspiration. And it could be your inspirer inspiring you. So, I mean, you can go on and on and on about sort of inspirers. What's your thoughts on that, Jimmy?
Very much the same as you. Yeah, I get all that. And it was just going through my mind about the astral plane when you mentioned it. You wake up and you've got this idea. And to move forward, and it's something you've been discussing on the astral plane with your inspirers and your guide, I assume. But also, inspirers come round. Well, not everybody's into spiritual work. Some people are very much into business, very much into making money. Good luck to them. But there'd be people in spirit who were, when they walked the earth, they were bankers, they were businessmen, they were jewelers, they were goldsmiths, whatever they were. So if you decided to start your own business, there'll be many who will want to step forward. I'm going to help Jimmy with this. He wants to open a jeweler's shop. So you might get people who were jewelers on the airplane last time want to come and pass their knowledge on to you, and they'll get close or try and get close to you. And then you'll start getting ideas that you think are yours, especially if you're not spiritually aware. But that they're happy, they've inspired you because that's what they set out to do. So you don't have to be involved with spiritual work to have inspirers. It could be anything you want to do, anything in life. A sports person, you'll get people who were great golfers, and if you get into golf, they might want to come close and please. But that's the point. That was one point I was trying to make. They're there for everybody. Whatever walk of life you're in, there'll be somebody trying to inspire you to help you on your earthly journey.
Absolutely, and also as well, that going back to your one true guide will see you progressing, Jimmy, and you're thinking, oh, he's going through a bit of a difficult patch. And your guide doesn't mean that your guide will have all the answers, or your guide is able to assist you in everything. Your guide will say, but I know somebody that will. And your guide will wander off and there's a friend of mine, I'm guiding him on the earth plane. Can you come and inspire him? So he will go and he will ask for help and guide you. So what's your thoughts, Chris?
Wow. Well, where do I start? There's a lot there. I'm 100% with everything that's been said there. Inspire is very important spiritually. It can depend on the work you're doing. In spiritual terms, clairvoyance, psychic artists, transmediumship. Some might refer to them as controllers. That's been used in transmediumship, but again, just words and terminologies.
Yeah.
You'll find many inspirers. I mean, something that comes to me that I found interesting. I'll give you a little story here. That's something that I read many years ago. And Paul McCartney and the song "Yesterday" from the Beatles, and he woke up with that song one morning, and he woke up with it so clear that he couldn't believe that it didn't already exist. And he wrote it. And obviously it didn't exist, but it was that clear to him. So that's what inspiration. But also I think you touched on a really interesting point there, Stephen, of the physical, people that inspire us in the physical. And inspiration can come from many different sources. I mean, we've met many people who can be inspirational in our lives, and the way they're doing that is that most probably they're quite solid in their own truth. So we resonate with that quite strong, and that's why the greatest way in this work is not to argue and fight, but actually to lead by example, because people look and go, wow, that person looks really content and aligned, and but also what I wanted to say, which is a bit different, is I feel the people that you might struggle with on your path, or should we say that aren't always easy experiences, can be just as inspirational. Because how many times will you have an experience where you see people doing something you might not think it's particularly the right way to do it, or they're making their mistakes, but you're learning by that as well and going, oh, well, when I do that, I'm not going to do it that way. And that's been that's a great inspiration to you. So you learn only not by the positive inspirations, if you want to call it that, but the different ones as well. So they can be inspirers in a way. Does that make sense?
Oh, I 100% agree. And a lot of people, I don't mean saying egotistical, a lot of people have said about us three and a lot of our work at the Purple Mountain that we've been an inspiration. And in a way, I quite openly say this, that, you know, we've reincarnated. I know I've reincarnated upon the earth to do the spiritual work, to help and guide people, to inspire people to change and to evolve, to make this world a better place, and never feel ashamed to say that. You know, in a way, we're like inspirers. But I just want to. So we talked a little bit about your one true guide, inspirers. What about when we use the term helpers and workers?
Oh.
What's your thoughts on that, Jimmy? And can you give us some sort of personal examples of your awareness of any helpers or workers that you're aware of that's assisting you or has assisted you?
Yeah, helpers and workers. They almost sound like they're beneath the inspirers. It just sounds that way, doesn't it? Helpers and workers,
Yeah.
like you've got worker ants and you've got the queen, and I always think of it as a team. I always feel that you've got a team with you, who were all pulling in the same direction for you. And at the end of the day, somebody's got to do the washing up, if you know what I mean. And I don't mean that disparagingly either. But what I'm saying is, I'm trying to think an example of my own, which I can't at this moment in time. And as soon as Chris starts speaking, I'll think, oh, why didn't I never thought of that. I see it as a team. A team. You one true guide. He sort of maybe orchestrates a lot of it, maybe not. But inspirers come and go when you need them in certain periods in your life. And I always think of a worker, for instance, as your astral guide, a helper. So when you things like that. So I can't get away from the fact it's a team effort. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, and in spirit, I mean, you know, it is so simple. Once we go back to spirit, we'll see things simple. But us in the physical, we try to compute things, don't we? Try to understand things. So in a way, we're good at categorizing things in boxes. We're trying to put things in boxes. But even in the spirit realms, it depends. Even with rescue work, with healing work, that's another big healing guides. And really depends on what kind of work that you're doing. Would depend on the workers, the helpers that are with you at that time, that were specialized. Because, you know, a lot of people have got this perception about the spirit world that, you know, everybody's sitting on this fluffy cloud and playing the harp. No, you know, if you were a passionate shaman healer when you were last here, you're going to have all that knowledge. If you love working with animals, that's what you're going to do in the spirit realms. So you're going to hold that knowledge and that inspiration and guidance. And if you're wanting to inspire somebody on the earth, what a great privilege that is, to pass on your knowledge, pass on your guidance and inspiration to people on the earth, because the earth plane needs it. And I'll ask one more question, and then I'll hand over back to Chris there. Is what's everybody's thoughts on animal guides, animal helpers and inspirers, and what's their purpose, Chris?
Oh, I love this one. And I was thinking about animal guides earlier, and I thought, oh, should we talk about that? Or is that another video? So I'll stop myself. But I love this animal guides, because I'm going to pass this along two ways. I do believe you can have animal guides and inspirers and protectors. They have their role. Again, it comes back to total unconditional love. I believe they can come forward as healers. I believe they can be protectors. I could believe they just can be there to show you something or help you see something you're not seeing, or to show you the way. Yeah, I feel that's really important. But also what I find interesting on sort of the astral plane or in dream state, or in a deep meditative state, or if you're experiencing something along the lines of Campbell or medicines, journey, we'll call it journeying of any way, I find you can see a lot of animals on your journeying. And this is like in guided meditations. And I used to see a lot of monkeys in one particular practice. And I believe, looking back now, that that monkey came to me to guide me through that moment in my journey. And then left me on the way. And I'm very grateful for that. And sometimes I see different animals. We know Margaret, who's, if you're watching, hi, Margaret. And she always sees a gorilla. And I believe animals can come to us very strongly on our journey to guide us through that part of our journey. And for me, animals, total unconditional love. Absolutely.
But do you not think as well, and I'm going to ask Jimmy that question as well, I sort of feel we a lot of us don't question when we see and feel an animal nearby, a guide and inspire, a para animal, but we question guides and inspirers, don't we, a lot? But none of us really question when we pick up and sense animal guides, because I don't know, it's strange, isn't it? So what's your thoughts, Jimmy, about animal guides and inspirers?
Oh yeah, I'm like Chris. It's just I think it's a passion that we've all got with animals, because Chris mentioned it, unconditional love. They do come with unconditional love. So because of that unconditional love, they can be part of that word again, your team, because they can help and inspire in so many ways. And not forget. Also bring into animals that you wouldn't always think about. What you can learn from animals is incredible. What you can learn from a spider, they're so industrious, they're so I mean, I could see people now cringing when I mention spiders, but what you could learn from them, and in the spirit world, you won't be frightened of them at all. They're just, it's just so, there's so much you can learn. And in healing work, especially, they're invaluable. They're invaluable because of that unconditional love that they bring. And power animals is slightly different. And I just want to make the point that some people, I'm sure, are thinking, can you have a one true guide as an animal? And that's a no, absolutely. But I just feel there's so much part of the team. And again, I'll just say that you can learn so much from them. Not just the cuddly animals, not just the great tigers and the wolves. You can learn so much from. I have a squirrel that's one of my inspirers. When I was doing tarot readings, etc., during a reading, which most people do, snippets of wisdom that you've got stored away in your spirit, you can pass on to somebody who's come for a reading. Well, I have a squirrel called Red, who stores his food, his nuts, and so he will run along and he will bring symbolically one of his hazelnuts, and that will be a snippet of wisdom that I can bring forward for. And I don't know whether you remember, Stephen, when we was doing some readings at Garstown, and I went for a walk with you, and in my pocket found a hazelnut, and that was put there by a little spirit helper called Red, a red squirrel. And I've never forgot that. And symbolically, what he was saying is that I'm helping you pass little snippets of wisdom onto whoever's come for that reading. And how simple is that, really?
Wow, beautiful. And yeah, I mean, you could really do a whole talk on animals and paranormals, but I wanted to share with everybody a little bit on my story there, because it was I think we were doing an African dance night at the Purple Mountain. Those that are listening, we do lovely retreats on a Friday night. Not at the moment, of course, because we're closed. Just to let everybody know, I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, as soon as we can, we will.
Yeah, as soon as we can. And power animals can change. They can change forms depending on what's going on in your life, what's needed. And this big vulture massive vulture came and flew to me. And again, what Jimmy was saying, people, it makes me, I smile sometimes when people say, "Oh, I see wolf and I see an elephant," and I've always had animals like a tarantula, things like that, and I saw this massive vulture flying near me, and this vulture sort of psychically said to me, and this was, I think, in November last year, and this vulture said to me, the next 2 or 3 months is going to be quite tough for you, Stephen, and you'll have to swallow some hard things. I thought, oh dear. And then I thought, what do you mean swallow hard things? Well, vultures got brilliant stomachs, haven't they? Vultures, and they can digest bone and all sorts. So he was just trying to tell me, this vulture, the next 2 or 3 months, that I would need that extra love, and the vulture's going to be with me. And what's happened, you know, my mum passed 3 weeks ago, and the funeral's this Friday. There's been a lot of turmoil with finances and stuff, but I'm getting through. So in a way, and it was funny when we've been doing medicine work in the past, that my stomach always feels swollen, and we know that the solar plexus digests emotions. So again, going back, and it's just amazing when things are being revealed, isn't it, Chris? When you inspire us, say this is going to happen, and it happens.
Yeah, I feel that's another good example of it's not always, as you say, you know, when you talked about romanticize, we can romanticize a little bit, but that was being brought to you in truth and in honesty to help you, and I believe it did a little bit. And it's that the signs are always there, but it's if we're willing to see them, and if we're keeping to our practice, whatever that might be, that we will be given, in ways, it seems strange to call that inspiration, but it was. And we have these signs. What I find interesting is sometimes, like, I'll give you an example. You could all of a sudden start seeing owls everywhere, and you'll see an owl, and then you might go to a shop and you'll see a picture of an owl, and then you'll see an owl on TV, and these things will be everywhere, and that's what I'd call spirit signs. So you might not always see an animal guide or a spirit guide, but there will be signs around.
Yeah.
We are here, you know. The signs are always there, and spirit signs is a huge thing. It really is. But I feel that's it's a good part of your journey you've shared there, Stephen, just to say, you know, things are always brought to us in truth, and it might be a truth that we might not want to particularly see, but the truth is the truth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's been an absolutely fantastic night, and sort of as we're closing tonight's talk and discussion, if I'll start with Jimmy, is anything you want to share, anything you want to sort of are impressed or inspired, using that word again, are you inspired that you want to share as we sort of move to the end of our talk tonight?
Because we've been talking about guides, and almost at the beginning specifically, your one true guide, but also inspires and helpers. I just want to say to people, please, what you were saying earlier, ask. Don't be afraid to ask spirit. Some people call it asking the universe, but by all means, speak out loud. Ask for your guide to come close. Sit quietly, ask for your guide to come close, and just try physically to pick a feeling up. It could be just a slight tingling in your hair. It could be that little touch. And then when you do feel it, believe it. It is your guide coming close. You've just asked, and it could be anything. It could be a tickle on your nose. But that's where I would like to leave with people. Please try and have 10 minutes meditation, and then ask for your guide and see what happens. And if you're not into meditation, just sit quietly for 10 minutes as best you can and ask for your guide, because everybody's got one. Everybody who walks this earth plane has got one true guide, and an army of helpers, including your animal friends.
Wow, thank you for sharing that, Jimmy. And what about you, Chris? Anything you want
very
to share?
inspirational. I'd want to share of everything in this work and my experiences doing your part. You know, nothing is ever brought on a silver platter. We're here to experience and to learn. And I think Rick, who's joined us a couple of times, described it once as getting like a workout book, a bodybuilder book, and expecting the muscles to come with it. And you've got to do the work, and that work involves. It's a discipline, like anything. You know, if people discipline themselves to learn something, any form of learning on the physical, and I would say just meditate, but most importantly, go with the flow. Because sometimes we can force things, we can push things, we can be too hard on ourselves. Take that image away of your guide going, oh, or out like that, because they won't be doing that. It's, you know, they've got total unconditional love. And remember, they don't, when things might not be going right, or you feel you're stepping outside of who you really are, remember they always say who you really are. Very simple. And enjoy the journey, and know, just like Jimmy said, know that we all have a guide. Absolutely, everybody has one true guide. So I feel just through knowing that is empowering. If you can accept that one truth without anything else, that is empowering within itself. And I've met a lot of people who've said, well, I just know. And that's good enough. That's good enough for you and you're content with that, that's absolutely fine. But just enjoy the journey. And to anybody, I've said this before, especially with this last year we've been through, no one's ever on their own. Ever. And you know, and they'll always be there through the good or the bad. And I'm going to repeat what I said at the beginning, which is if we knew how much we were totally unconditionally loved in this world, if we can accept that from, you know, the unconditional love that is around us, you know, it would make us a little bit easier on ourselves. But I wouldn't mind, actually. Can I share another writing, the Malachi's writing?
Of course you can, Chris.
Because I did have this ready, and this is another one. If we're finishing up, it seems right. And it was channeled through Anita some time ago. I don't know the year exactly, but this one's called Guide Me Best Friend. So I hope you enjoy this, anybody who's watching. I have a friend who will always be there to guide me through life and to teach me to care. When I'm feeling tired and sad, he will lift up my heart and make me feel glad. He will show me how to help the poor and weak. He will give me the courage and strength that I seek. When I'm weary and unable to give, he will come from his home to this world where I live. He will take my hand and show me what's right. He will reach in the dark and show me the light. To go on my way and do all I can to show kindness and love to my fellow man. We are here but to learn and to do our best. If we do all these things, God will take care of the rest. For to love and to learn is part of God's plan. This and nothing more is all he asks from man.
Oh, that gives me tingles. That I love Malachi's writing, and thank you for reading that very passionately there, Chris. And I just want to my closing talk of tonight really is to encompass everything, and I think something that is very, very important to us at the Purple Mountain at the moment is that, you know, it's been a difficult past year and a half for a lot of people, but it's been an opportunity for people to grow, to learn, but most importantly, celebrate life. I think there's such a down and a lot of people are depressed and anxious. And I think it's a great opportunity in the next couple of months to really, you are special. You can never die. We all have a knowing that your spirit will live on, but enjoy your life, celebrate your life. Your life's special. You are special. And don't get yourself so down, and speak to people with like-minded people, and make friends, connect with people, connect to places like us at the Purple Mountain. And that's really why I feel really passionate, something that Spirit trying to instill us the past couple of months, past couple of weeks in particular, to enjoy life. And it's a wonderful feeling when you can sit and meditate in nature and connect with your guide, connect with the inspirers. Oh, it's wonderful. And you can never feel alone. Never, ever feel alone. It'll be great. Those that are people that are watching us on YouTube or would like to subscribe to us, that would be fantastic. That would just get our message out, sharing our wonderful knowledge. That's all we try to do, is share our truth. We're not saying what we are saying is right. We just share our truth and our knowledge, our guidance to those that want to listen.
We're not saying it's wrong either.
We're not saying it's wrong either. And what's really interesting as well is those, continue to comment on this video, and we'll want to hear about your experiences with your one true guide. How did you make your connection? Tell us about your story. That would be fantastic, because that makes it real. That makes it real, tangible. And, it was great tonight, us talking about our personal experiences with our one true guide, because it's not fantasy. This is real life stuff. This is real. It's happening. It's happening to us every day.
Well, it's what is it described when we spoke to David Icke, and he describes it very well, of sort of living our life sometimes like that in a box, and really with that we're infinite. And if we knew, again, if you could accept that you're infinite, you're not just in this little box of existence. You're a lot more. We're so much more than what we see around us. We're so much more, and it can be put across as fantasy, but it's very much reality. It's possibly more reality than a lot of things we could touch and see, and the physical.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Our next video, I believe, our next big talk, which I'm really excited about, is this Thursday with Ayla Shaffer, a musician, inspirational poet. She does inspirational writings and music and writes her own song. And if you listen to some of her music, it is beautiful. I'm sure she was well inspired, not just through her own journey, but in spirit as well. And I think, what time's that? 2:30, Chris?
3:30, but it will be available as well for those who won't be able to catch it at 3:30. We'll be posting it on YouTube that evening. And like I said, click and subscribe. We're also on Instagram as well, Purple Mountain. A lot of people like Instagram now, so you can find us on there.
Brilliant, fantastic. And we hope that we're all going to see you in the physical again soon, once the Purple Mountain is back open and running, and we'll be offering lots of events and retreats. Soon. We're praying every day to the Great Spirit. We are praying every day for good news.
Yeah.
So I'm going to
pass a bit too quiet for us.
Pass on to you, Chris. Thank you for allowing me to host tonight. I think I hope I've done all right.
Yeah, you've done good tonight. I've enjoyed having I can't call it a night off, really. But I just want to thank Jimmy for joining us, and it's good, and it's just sharing truth. All we're doing is, which I always feel is invaluable, is sharing experiences. Experiences are so powerful, and that's why we come back to the earth plane, to experience, and by sharing our experiences, we all learn. So like Stephen said, feel free to post, share your stories, your journey. And I hope everybody's well. And all I'd say to anybody again is just stay in your truth, stay in your light, and be happy. Very important to be happy. Okay.
Good night. God bless everybody.
Good night, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.